Welcome back to part 3 of Module 12, Lesson 9, where we're going to continue into our study of surface area and volume of composite figures, focusing on surface area this time. I really hope this is going to be the last video of this module. We got a sub-video to start off with, so let's look at it.
To find the surface area, first decompose the composite figure into simpler solids. This figure is composed of a rectangular prism and triangular prism. Next, find the surface area of the simpler solids. Do not include any faces that are not exposed in the original composite figure. The first solid is a rectangular prism. Since the top is not in the original figure, find the areas of the remaining surfaces. Then find the sum of the areas to find the surface area. The second solid is a triangular prism. Since the bottom is not in the original figure, find the areas of the remaining surfaces. Then find the sum of the areas to find the surface area. The surface area of the first simpler solid is 294 square feet. The surface area of the second simpler solid is 102 square feet. So the total surface area of the composite figure is 294 plus 102, or 396 square feet.
Well, that spells it out pretty good. I like making nets on mine, but when you're dealing with composite figures, it's kind of hard to make a net of a composite figure. Here they have a gift box for a stuffed animal that has the dimensions that are shown, and they want to know what's the surface area of this box going to be. Well, if you look at it, you've got a cube on the bottom, you have a square pyramid on the top. What do you have to find? You have to find the area of 5 sides of that cube, the 4 walls and the floor. And you have to find the area of the 4 sides of that triangular pyramid, but not the base. And then add all that information together. Let's do this. So here we've got, let's see what it's saying to us here. We've got load everything up. How many squares did we need? I said we needed 5 of the squares, and we need 4 of the triangles. We're going to check both of those. They're going to check fine, of course. Now that we have that information, we can move on to the next part where we're going to actually start finding that. A square is going to be 8.5 times 8.5 to find its area. So 8.5 times 8.5. They're working it as a fraction though, so we need to work it as a fraction too. So let's take and go over to our scratch paper here, and we're going to do that. And there's 5 squares. That's the reason they put 5 in there. So 5 times 8 1/2 times 8 1/2, or 8 1/2 squared. What we have is 5 times side squared going on here, okay? So now I have 5 times 2 times 8 is 1. 2 times 8 is 16 plus 1 is 17 over 2 times 17 over 2. And when we multiply that out, I'm going to take and say 5 times 17 times 17. 5 times 17 times 17 is going to equal to 1,445 divided by 4. Now, if it was me, I would leave it as that, because I'd be adding that to another fraction here in a little bit, but the textbook is going to want that to be converted into a mixed number for now. So I'm going to take that 1,445 divided by 4. That's going to be 3, which is 12, 2 left over. That's going to become actually 6, which is going to be 24. With nothing left over, bring down the 5, and that's become a 1, which would be 4 with 1 left over. So we're going to have 361, and 1/4 is the number I get there. Jump back over here, type that in, and we're going to put in 361 and fraction 1/4, accept and check. That part's good. We have found the area of the square pieces. Next, we have to find the area of the triangular pieces, and you can see they've laid it out here. A formula for area of a triangle. Let's just go ahead and work that out properly, okay? So we're going to take and say there's 4 triangular pieces, so it's going to be 4 times the area of a triangle is going to be 1/2 times base times height, right? So now I can say 4 times 1/2 times on that triangle. I've got a base that's 8.5. So I'm going to put in my here 8 1/2 times, and I have a height that is going to be 16 5/8. So I'm going to jump back over here, 16 5/8. Next, I'm going to take and do 4/1 times 1/2 times 2 times 8 is 16 plus 1 is going to be 17/2 times 8 times 16, that's going to be 80, plus 48 is going to be 128, plus 5 is going to be 133 over 8. And that last one I'm just going to check because this is my 11th video of the day and the brain is tired. 8 times 16 equals plus 5 equals 133. Excellent. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of simplifying. And in my simplifying, I'm going to go all the way across. I could do either both of those 2's with the 4, but it's going to be easier to say 4 goes into 4 once and 4 goes into 8 2 times. That's all the simplifying we can do. Now let's take and do some multiplying here, where I'm going to have all across the top 1 times 1 is 1 times 17 is 17, and then 17 times 133, that's going to equal to 2,261. 2,261 over, in the bottom, 1 times 2 times 2 times 2, that's going to end up giving me 8. Now we're going to come off to the side and divide that out. 2,261 divided by 8, that's going to be 2, which is 16. Bring down the 6, and that's 6. 2 is going to go into 66. That is going to be 8 times, which is going to be 64. With 2 left over, bring down the 1. That's become 2 times, which is 16 with 5 left over. So I'm looking at 282 and 5/8 for our answer there. Jump back over to here, put in what we got there. 282. Let's try that again. 282 fraction 5/8. Accept and check, and that part checked. Now we get to add it all up. So I need a least common denominator, and for that least common denominator, that means I can change that 1/4 to be 2/8. So I'm going to have 361 and 2/8 plus 282 and 5/8. Add those together, 2/8 plus 5/8, that's going to give me my 7/8. And then let's see, I'm going to have a 3, I'm going to have a 14, and I'm going to have a 6. 643 and 7/8 should be my final answer. Jump back over here, type it in. 643 fraction 7/8, accept and check, and it checks. So the volume of that three-dimensional object is going to be 643 and 7/8 inches. Nothing really hard there, although the numbers they gave us weren't really friendly. It's still not that hard to do. The hardest part is actually just grinding through and doing all of that work. Now it's going to be your turn. Go ahead and break this one down and find out what its volume is going to be on your own. Go ahead. How did that one go for you? It shouldn't have been too hard. It's just an awful lot of work because there's a lot of parts on this one, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by cutting this into a rectangular prism. And we're going to find that a lot of the pieces are going to be the same size, which is going to help with our math. So I'm going to start by cutting it across right here. Good so far? And then right there, if this distance is 2 1/3, and this height's 1 1/3, that means this is 1 1/3. That means this height right here, that is also going to be 1 1/3 tall. Okay, so from there, I'm going to take and figure out what this length is. This is 4. This is 2 2/3. So let's do some math on that one. That's not as easy to do in our head. So I'm going to take 4 minus 2 2/3. I could have done it in my head, by the way. And that 4, I'm going to change to be 3 3/3 minus 2 2/3. And what do we get? 3 minus 2 is 1. 3/3 minus 2/3 is 1/3. So now I know that this distance right here is going to be 1 1/3 as well, and that's for that distance there, okay? With that, we have all the measurements we need to do this. Now we need to start figuring out what all we have in the way of pieces parts. First off, I've got two pieces that are going to be 4 feet across and 1 1/3 tall. It's going to be this piece right here, and it's going to be the one in the back side of it. So I'm going to have 2 times 4. Think about what the area of a rectangle. Area of the rectangle is going to be length times width, right? So it's going to be 4 times 1 1/3. Are we good so far? Next, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 pieces right here. They're going to be 2 1/3 by 1 1/3, 2 2/3 by 1 1/3. But that's not all. I'm also going to have 4 and 5, because this one's 2 2/3 this way and 1 1/3 that way. So this piece in the front and its partner in the back. So now I have 5 pieces that are going to be a base of 2 2/3 times a height of 1 1/3. Good so far? So now I've taken out all of those pieces. Next, I have this piece right here, and what is it? It's going to be 2 2/3 this way and 2 2/3 that way, which incidentally is the same as the back piece. The back piece here is going to be 2 2/3 tall and 2 2/3 deep. If you were to take and draw it there, that's going to be 2 2/3 there. So I've got two pieces that are 2 2/3 by 2 2/3. I'm going to put 2 2/3 times 2 2/3. And now all that's left for me to find is the bottom piece. The bottom piece is 4 across and 2 2/3 that direction. So let me take and group up my stuff, get a little bit more space to work here. So there it is, slide it over. So I'm going to say plus my bottom piece, which is just a single piece that is going to be 4 times 2 2/3. And we'll just go ahead and put parentheses around that for the fun of it. Next, I'm going to start changing whole numbers and mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I'm going to take right here, I'm going to make that 2 into a 2 over 1 times 4 over 1 times 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is going to be 4 over 3 plus, and then I'm going to have a 5 over 1 times, and we don't even really need those parentheses there. This is going to be 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8, so I have 8 over 3 times, and then right here it's going to be a 4 over 3 again. Next it's going to be plus, this 2 is going to come down next, 2, and we'll call that a 2 over 1 again, 2 over 1 times, and we're going to have 8/3 like we found before, and 8/3 again. And then finally, we're going to have this one right here is what we're working on, 4 over 1 times 8 over 3 again. Now we're going to do some numerators and denominators. 2 times 2 is 4. I'm sorry, 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 4 is going to give me 32. 1 times 1 times 3 is going to be 3. So this one right here came down to be that. Next, 5 times 8 is 40. And then 40 times 4 is going to be 160 over 1 times 3 is 9. So there's that one. Next one is going to be 2 times 8 is 16. And actually, let's do this different. Let's do 8 times 8 is 64. And 64 times 2 is going to be 128. It's easier that way. Over 1 times 3 is 9 again. And then from there, the last thing we have, 4 times 8 is 32 over 3. Now we're going to find some least common denominators next. The least common denominator is going to be 9, so I have something over 9, and let's see, 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 times 32 is going to be 96, plus 160 over 9, plus 128 over 9, and then over here I'm going to have to do some math as well, and 3 times 32, oh, that's going to be 96 again. Excellent. Now from there, we're going to take and add up our numerators, and since my brain is just plumb tuckered out, we're going to use a calculator. 96 plus 160 plus 128 plus 96 equals 480 over, oh, that should be a 9 there, by the way, 480 over 9. Now all that's left to do is change that into a mixed number again. So I'm going to take my 480, I'm going to divide it by 9. 9 goes into 48 5 times. 5 times 9 is 45. 3 left over, bring down the 0. It's going to go into that 3 times, which is 27, with 3 left over as well. So my answer is going to be 53 and 3/9, which is also known as 53 and 1/3. Fingers crossed we get it right. We're going to jump back over here, type it in. 53 fraction 1/3, accept and check, and yes, we got it. You always get a little bit of stress when you're doing that much work and you worry that you miss one side on that huge polyhedron. And that was a lot of work, but it did get the answer. Now you could have taken and did it, and the way I did this when I showed it to my regular math kids is I found the area of one piece, and then I found the area of the next piece, and the next piece, and then I added all those up together, but that got pretty work intensive too, doing it that way. That is it for our lesson. That is it for Module 12. Get started working on your homework assignment. Make sure you give me good quality supporting work justifying all your answers so I can give you some good quality credit for doing it.